Welcome, everyone. I'm so happy you're here, tapped in with us. And today we are going to talk about a philosophy, a concept that is so aligned, I feel, with astrology and specifically the branch that I'm in, evolutionary astrology, where we do look at the development of the soul and interpret the chart from that perspective of it's not only orientating to where we are in the universe, that is astrology, that's what we're doing, but it's also where we are on that lineage of our soul family, we can call it. So I'm really excited to hear more about karmic constellations and how my guest today works with this concept, because what I feel therapeutic astrology podcast is not usually not really about astrology. Sometimes it is, but most episodes, most interviews are about how to feel better, really. And so this is a therapeutic model that are aligned with astrology. I just want to make that clear because a lot of people are confused about the name. So but now I'll welcome my guest, the author of Karma Healing, Unblock Your Life on the Soul Level. I had to speak with you, Yael Eini, when I saw that title. Welcome here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And so you're the author of this book, and in that you also say that it's been quite a speedy process with learning this once you got into it. Can you introduce yourself and your work and maybe this process of getting to know how to work with karma in your...
Okay. So I am an energetic healer for more than 20 years. And during working with energy, so anyone that work with energetic healing, work with energy. So the concept of karma came into my life and learned about it. More Western perspective of karma than Buddhistic perspective. And it was always really interesting for me. Like there is a channeler named Cryon. When he speaks, Lee Carl channel Cryons. So when he speaks about you can change your karma, all my body was, yes, I know that within me. But he never says how. And I was like, how? How? Like, I didn't feel I have the tools. So for times I search for tools, for times I just put it aside and worked, did my job to help other people heal their life, progress with their life. And I learned a lot of tools, and one of them was family constellation. I become a facilitator and a teacher of this method. And while teaching, I start to explore what more can we do, not with family constellation, but with the art of representing, because the technique of family constellation is about you can represent everything. You can represent your grandparents, your great-grandparents, your like I live in Israel, so you can represent Israel, you can represent feeling like anger, or my ancestors are from Poland and Germany and the States, so you can bring representation to the country our grandparents came from. So you can represent everything and give them voices. So I was wondering, can I represent energetic stuff? Like, can I represent the Akashic records? The short answer is yes.
Okay.
And then I start to explore. So this exploration about what can I represent and what happens when I represent them, how they affect the field. Actually, this is how I developed Karmic Constellation. I didn't think about developing any healing modality or a method, but after exploring in the lab how to work with the Akashic records, someone approached me after a year and she said, can you teach me what you're doing? And I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not doing anything. And she said, no, I see how you work. You're doing something. So I was like, I stopped, I reflect, and then I do have a method. And this is how Karmic Constellation was got life.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, I have many questions for you
Go for it.
because it's a lovely book, and it's a lovely book to introduce you to the philosophy and also the method, actually, where you're very generous explaining how to do it. So my first question, I just found that, you had a sentence around how the field is the real therapist, and I was wondering about that. How is the field the real therapist? I like that expression.
So I think first, for people that don't know constellation, because you said you also know constellation, we need to explain what the field is. Okay?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we all act and behave actually in the field. The field is, I want to say everything, but also in quantum physics, they speak about the field. So like the field is the energy of everything, and it combines the energy of the known and the energy of the unknown. And I do bring in the book a little bit about quantum physics for people like me that have no idea in physics, that they can understand. So I know me, I know how I behave, how I act, how I interpret all kinds of things. I don't know why.
Mhm.
And by representing, the representation can start tell you why you act the way you act. And the representation is giving a voice to the unknown that is in the field. Each one of us have a field. We can call it a subconscious also. So we have, and I also write about it in the book, we have several subconscious. The known and the most common is what Freud called our individual subconscious. We have what Jung called the collective subconscious. What family constellation teach us is that and not only family constellation, when you work with a systemic approach of families, you have the subconscious of your family. And what I found out, and when we speak about past life therapy, you have the subconscious of the soul. Lots of subconscious in one person. And they affect us sometimes more than our conscious. So working with the field is allowing the subconscious guide us in a way that making the unknown known, and now it's not longer have a hold on us. It doesn't hold us anymore. And now when we are conscious to things can change. So when I work with the field, instead of you coming and tell me the story, okay? And the story can be, I don't know, I'm an anger person because my father was angry at me. So I inherit his anger. That is the known story. You know that. Probably you also went to therapy and you worked on that and you still have an anger issues. When I allow the field, I might discover that the anger is actually from a previous lifetime, that something happened there and it's still imprinted within me. And this is why I'm angry. So I went to my dad, I choose my father because I knew as a soul, he has an anger issues, but that is only for me to heal the anger from a different lifetime.
So what appears now appears in order for you to heal the anger from a different lifetime.
Yes, it can appear to heal something. It can be all kinds of realms, yes. But I want to say that when you allow the field to speak, then you can decide whether it's from your childhood, from your generation, like your lineage, or past life. And not you decide, oh, it's something, there is in the story I know. The story I know is my father has anger issues, okay? But when I start working with the field might tell me, yeah, right, yes, but you choose your dad because you needed to deal with anger yourself because in a different lifetime, something happened, you were an angry person, you didn't heal that, you choose your dad, now it's time to heal that.
Yeah, I love the concept. I love that this is possible. And yeah, so I love the way that you say it. There's the known story, and then there's everything that our therapist, the field, can show us through representatives, correct?
Yes, yes. And you can do it with a group. So with a group, you can come and you represent me and Andrew represent my dad, and then Edwin represent my past life. So like you all give voices to my subconscious, but I also can do it myself. I can bring, let's say, sticky notes or all kinds of objects that I have really near me, and I can say, okay, I'll write here me, and then for another note, I'll write my dad, and I'll put them in the field, and I'll start representing my dad, and I'll start representing my past life, and see what comes up within me, not what I know, but what I don't know that is new for me and comes up within me. So it's a very sensory method. When you represent, it's more about what you're sensing and feeling and not what you're thinking.
So is it more powerful with people though than things?
It really depends. It depends on the person. It depends on the issue. There are issues that's okay, there are issues. Maybe I have agoraphobia. Okay, so it's the fear of going out. So in that way, I won't bring other people. I'll do one-on-one. Okay, because then the seeing other people's really frightened and the client, so it will not work. But there are times, like I had a session today, when the client, he's a father, we worked on the child, and he was so wanting to help her, he couldn't step out of his love to her or his caring for her, and he couldn't represent the others. Like he couldn't step out of himself. So in that case, other people to represent for him will be better for him. So it really depends. I don't find, as a client myself, I can do both.
Okay. So how did it go with that client? I know I have many questions, so I was just curious about when you mentioned it. Because like father came to work on issues for his child, correct?
Yeah. So when it's hard to the client to represent, we go with the difficulty. It's okay, it's part of the field. There is a reason why it's hard to represent. I do it rarely represent for them, or we go what we can go with.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that's another point in your book around acknowledging what is there.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that principle and how powerful it really is?
So on the systemic approach, speak about acknowledge what it is, what there. And what happened is in our life, we are not giving voice to many things we have within us, and not giving voice or recognizing them even really affects us. But also think that we didn't give voice in past life. I had this client, she came with rage issues. So we placed representation to her and to the rage. And then a story came up in a different lifetime. She was living in this community. I don't know, it was like before biblical time, something like that. But in this community, it was like God gave, God take. We aren't sad on anything, like it's okay. And there was like a nature catastrophe, and she lost all her family. But the community said, you can't be sad. It was the wish of God. And she was like furious of them, but she couldn't express that. She died with all those emotions suppressed within her. And we acknowledge that. We acknowledge that what we even did was expressing all these emotions. Like, I'm sorry, like I can't stand God. I hate you for not allowing me to feel all those emotions, because I am in grief, I am in pain, it's okay for me to feel like that. And I hate God because he took my kids, he took my family. And just by expressing all of that, there was such a big relief in the field, and the energy of the anger, like the representation of the anger, said, okay, I don't need to be in the field anymore. So acknowledge what it is about giving voice. First of all, it's about discovering what the story was. Okay, we needed to understand what happened in the past life in order to give voice, because what happened was a catastrophe, people died. The voice was the grief and the sadness and the anger on God. And when we gave that, acknowledge that, then we don't need to hold it anymore. And so many times we just hold emotions of either an unspoken words, emotions, and feelings, or an unfinished movement, which is when you work with trauma, you many times have an unfinished movement. But also, yeah, so in the here and now, I'm a trauma facilitator also. So in the here and now, if I have this urge to punch you as a trauma facilitator, I'll say, okay, let's do it really slow, micro movement, and release the energy that is held here, because the body wants to complete the movement, the fight, flee, freeze. What happened is we have also unfinished business and unfinished emotions and movements from previous lifetime.
That's what I really love about it. I like that, because you can just convert what you know from trauma therapy into now dealing with past lives. And even if like regression therapy, it's, as far as I know, it doesn't work therapeutically like that. It's to like discover the story and relate the issues you have now to that past life story. But here you have something where you're actually working therapeutically with that past life story. That's what I really like about it. There's something to do. Yeah.
It's bodily. It's you feel, you sense, and also you discharge in a way. And what Karmic Constellation is about, a movement. So you start with when you put the representation, you bring all the like my teacher would say, the pathology of the issue.
Yeah.
But then you move the energy in the field, and when you move your pathology, then something moves within you, and then something moves in life.
And so I'm curious about the concept of vows and contracts.
Okay.
Because I think many people can relate to that, that stuck pattern that keeps repeating, or something that's, it's just not able to be deconstructed somehow. And you have a certain theory around that I'm really curious about.
Okay, so I'll say that we have like soul agreement, and that's more about two people. Like we had an agreement to meet on this podcast. You know, you knew I'm gonna publish my book long before both of us ever entered the earth.
Yes, I'm sure of it. I knew.
Yeah, so this is an agreement what I called like everyone called soul contract. When I worked on the book, I channeled an entity called the group, and they say, why you called it a contract, call it agreement, because you agree to meet with each other and to experience all kinds of things. So this is contract for me. It's more about two people choosing to work together on earth. And vows, and you could also say oath, like I ought to, I'm oathing, I don't use this word. So like vow is more like I promise.
Yeah.
I give an oath, I give a promise. I promise I'll forever hunt you. This is a vow, okay? Or I'll promise I'll forever wait for you. This is also a vow. But there are also vows of I'll give like God, please make my son healthier. I'll give all my money to charity, all kinds of vows like that. So vow is a promise we're doing most of the time between me and me. But when I made the vow, most of the time vows are from distress. It's not yeah, it's even if I say I will love you forever, it's not a promise, it's just a statement. But I promise to love you forever, or I will forever wait for you. That's a promise. So, and it formed to a vow, and the way I see vows, they're like a tattoo on the soul.
A tattoo on the soul. Wow. Yeah. So it
Yeah.
carries over in a more significant way than if I just say I love you or something like that. This is the intention is really strong. And
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. So what happens? So in a different lifetime, I made a vow. You are my beloved one. I will, and you died, let's say, or you went to war, and I'll say, I'll wait for you forever. And there is a lot of pain within it, it's, yeah. Or I won't marry another. Like I promise I won't marry another. And then he died. But 30, 40 years later, I made my promise, but then I'm dying also. Incarnate back again. And because it's like a tattoo on the soul, there is a memory of this vow within me. So I don't remember my past life. I don't remember creating any vows. And now I'm in my 20 or 30, I want to get married. I don't find anyone. Or no one fits. Why is that? And then I do Karmic Constellation, past life regression, any theory that works on the past or on vows. And then, I'm waiting for a specific person. But you know what? Maybe he never incarnated.
So this is a really interesting point in your book. What the soul knows and what the person knows, it's very different. And so the soul could have thought we're gonna meet again, but then what you're saying here is that
the promise is within the soul.
okay.
The soul might come in and maybe she plans to get married when she's 30. Maybe she even had a soul contract with someone. I'll meet you. You'll be my pizza deliverer. will open and I'll fall in love with you. But because there is this tattoo on the soul, even if we did a soul agreement, when I'll open, I will not see you because it's like covering my eyes.
Oh,
So the way I see vows is they are more powerful than any agreement.
okay.
They are not letting us continue with our life. They are actually holding back the soul.
Hmm. Okay, so maybe to get further into that, how is it that you talk about soul, self? There's a big difference in the way that anyone would speak about soul, right? But how is it? What is it for you? I think it's quite important to get the concept you're speaking about when you say soul.
Yes. Okay, so I'll say that soul is not me, and I'll speak about it in a minute. And I'll say that like in Buddhism, it's consciousness, and there are some traditions that speak about spirit, but for me, spirit is more about the creator or God. So soul is the formation I found works with me. And yet what happens, so if you'd asked me, I think like 10 years ago, I would say I am my soul, like that one person, Yael, I am my soul is me. And I had all kinds of channelers that told me, your soul, she's tired. You're like working too hard. You are too fast for your soul. And I was like, how come? Like, she's me. But then the representation came into my world through family constellation. And I was like, okay, let's rep the soul. And then I put representation to me, put representation to the soul. Ooh, and I found out that my soul actually don't feel, think, and sense like I am. Sometimes there is a huge gap between me and my soul. Like I did a session a week ago about something that I'm doing, and I put representation to me and my soul, and I was very tired, very, okay, I want to end that. I'm like, I have no joy. And my soul was, that's so wonderful. You're going through it. You don't know, but you're learning so much. I love it. I love it. And I was like, I'm tired.
Uh,
It's
did
like two different entities.
Very different, yeah. Did you learn what your soul was saying through Karmic Constellation work?
Yeah, it brought representation to my soul and brought representation to me on a specific issue.
Right. So you, but
But
you couldn't feel it, you couldn't sense it within that that is what your soul was saying?
no, because I'm as a human, regarding that issue, I was tired.
Okay. And so
I,
did you then recognize it when you as a human heard what your soul through a representative said to you? Could you then feel that impulse?
oh, I understood that.
Okay.
I didn't care, but as a human, it's like, okay, not now. It's like I understand what it was like, a cognitive understanding. I understand why she's saying what she's saying. I could see that, but I was too tired to like, okay, I'll join you with your enjoyment.
Okay. So that's pretty interesting. So, but that explains, we get these soul lessons and we're not really in on it. The human part of us is,
Yes. And it's not only that we're not in it with the human part of us. One of the things I'm going to explore now is I found out that there are times that I had several constellations with women that they want not only to find couple relationship, they want to get married.
yeah.
Okay. And so I do karmic constellation. Why aren't they married, or what can help them find their partner? And then the representation of the soul looks at marriage and say, I don't want it. And okay, and I ask my client, okay, is it okay just to be a partner with the person with no marriage? Why do you need the certificate? And she said, no, I want to get married. And it like I did 2 or 3 constellations with quite traditional countries like Israel and India. And in both, this is what my client said, like, I want the marriage stuff. But the soul, she looks at it and said, I don't want it. Like, so the gap is very frustrating. It's like it's like if I would look in a higher perspective, I need to tell the client, okay, acknowledge what is. Your soul doesn't want to get married. Like, stop longing for it. You
Okay,
know?
that's how it works then, because that's yeah. Okay, so my question would be to that: how to integrate, or as you say, acknowledge. Okay, my soul doesn't want that, but I can't. Is it true that you can't really feel it? I can't really feel. Is it because I'm used to working with like different parts of me, and then I can go to that place and sense and make contact to that part of me. But what you're talking about here is different, and it's like, is it gonna be underneath my consciousness always? This how the soul.
It's in your consciousness because we saw that. It's, I'll say it actually in astrology. It's like I'll come to you, you'll read my chart, and you'll say there is no marriage in your chart. It will not, I will go, I'll say the F word, and I'll be depressed. And I will want to change it. Okay. So the chart, the astrology chart, in a way, it's the potentials that the soul choose, right? Like my soul chose to be born in May. So, and not, I could be like, well, my mother did it in her 39 week, but I could come on the 37 week and be, I don't remember how, like I'm Gemini, so what came before. But also, she could be pregnant with me later time. Like when our parents become pregnant, it's because the soul is ready. Like when they conceive, it's because the soul is ready to enter. And we know as souls when we will be born. So I choose Gemini. Okay. So in your chart, you see my choices, my potential, and you can know if I have potential as to marry or not. So I'll come to you and you say, you don't have any marriage in your chart. That's so frustrating if I want to get married. So there is a difference between the human and the soul. And I want to say something about that. So I think this difference is part of the soul lesson. Because if the soul really don't want to get married, or not really, but if the lesson is not about marriage, so you're getting born in Japan when they don't marry each other, and you feel great with that. But being born in a traditional environment, and Israel is still a traditional environment, or in India, like the whole culture talk about, you need to get married, like marriage is the thing. So it's so depressing to be a person that is not married in a culture that you have to get married. Like this is the normal. For most of cultures, we do have pluralism and we are open to others, but still the narrative, even with the either with lesbians and homo, they want to get married. Like the narrative is you need to get married, right? But it's not in the chart. How do you overcome? Can you overcome? What do you do between the differences between the human desire and the soul desire?
Yeah, okay. So I really get that example. I do want to say for myself that I would never look at a chart and say there's no marriage in it, because that is a bit too traditional to me. But you've also worked with or cooperated with someone around Vedic astrology. You mentioned that before we started recording. So there's differences. There's different ways of working the chart, but I get the example because I could say your example was with marriage, but then I could replace that with trauma. I would never have chosen to, be exposed to what I was. I
As
would
a person.
as a person, right? But my
Yeah.
did choose that, and
Yes.
and then that is something that also shapes you into becoming a therapist, so it has qualities along the way. But still, I have had a very hard time imagining that anything to do with me would have chosen that background and those traumas. So yeah, it's really interesting that the soul is a different entity than me.
Yes, yes, yes. And it's sometimes, as human, it's really hard to comprehend that because, yeah, we are our soul, no? But no.
Right. Right. Okay. So, okay, a few questions left here. So you mentioned the group. And
Yeah.
are they part of how you got to know this? Because this is now we're talking about some of the philosophy here that were also revealed to you, or that you kind of figured out along the way. Was the group a part of that, or?
Okay, so the lamp, this is what started everything. And after 8 years, I'm still doing the lab. It's a monthly meeting. Every time I explore something else. And most of the things that I've learned are through the lab. I just have something that in my mind, like, uh, how can I work with the soul, or how can I work with vows or curses? I do a lab on that. And this, like the field teach me. What happened when I did, when I worked on my book, I sat with my editor about the Akashic records, and she said, I still don't understand what you're trying to teach me here. And like for me, it was so clear, but I couldn't find the words. So I was very frustrated, very. And then I felt the energy. So I am a trance medium, but I haven't practiced it for 15 years because I had issue with being a trance medium. But then I felt this energy and I said, hit the recorder. Like I allowed this energy to come, and they were just starting to speak about the Akashic records. And in the end, I said, great, who are you? And they said, the group. So they are the group. I have no idea who they are. Rather than that, I also don't really care. I just like that they bring the energy and the message. And we were so overwhelmed by what they said. And then my editor said, oh, now I understand. So I said, okay, let's try and work with them on all the books. So they brought their perspective on every issue that I wrote, in every chapter that there is in the book. And like, it was so funny because the book was actually almost edited by itself. The Akashic records are the last chapter. So like we actually finished the book, and then the group came and we started editing the book from the beginning.
Uh, and then you reveal in the book that the building was burning while you were editing. What was that about?
My editors, she have this working space, and yeah, it was burning, but it really, so even what the group said really resonate with her.
Ah, okay. Yeah, okay. Uh, it was set on fire, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Destroyed to
Okay.
ashes.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. I was just curious on how, maybe saw some symbolism in that. But but I'm happy you got the book out. I mean,
Yeah, no, it was like she went through those times, and something about editing the book and also the messages of the group really helped her see
yeah,
her path and how she's supported, although like
okay.
this place was burned to ashes, and really hold her. So
Yeah,
that was really interesting to see how the book supported my editor.
like that. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think one of I think it's gonna be my final question is gonna be your voice channeling, but I also just wanna take a moment to look at your chart. And so, because you do know your birth chart, right? If you've worked with Vedic astrology, or is that different?
Oh, it's completely different. They look at the stars in really a different way.
Right. Yeah. I think I did see a chart once of, yeah, it
And
doesn't.
I have no like it's not that I know any astrology. It's
Okay.
like I like to work sometimes with things that I don't know.
Yeah. 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 Well, so I can say just one thing that's really, mm, it's always hard to choose one thing, but so let's take something that's in a square, so it's connected. So because you started out in family constellations and then you made a new invention actually by adding the knowledge of past lives into the same principles that are in family constellations to now karmic constellations. And you have Saturn in Cancer, which is family. And Saturn could be your work, your great work into the world, your great contribution. And so your great contribution within family, within the system, Saturn of the family, is then square to your moon Chiron there in Aries, who wants to do it its own way, want to do it my own way, and have this pioneering spirit. So there's this emergence of something very new and fresh and young. So this is a square. So I feel this is like it's really supporting each other like that. This is I feel that's where I see it in your chart that you have that you're steeped within the traditional roots because that's where you get the theory from, and then you make it your own. And yeah, yeah. How does that feel?
Oh, that sounds me. Even so what brought me into family constellation was me working with parents. I worked with parents more than a decade. And I can see the transpersonal trauma. So like I'm not a parent's guidance, I am a parent therapy, emotional therapy. So I even wrote a book about personal development through parenthood, but it's only in Hebrew. But yeah, I took emotional therapy into working with parents and also did it my way. So, and everything, yeah, I really resonate with my way. Um, yeah, and actually, yeah, working with the family systems. And I think also healing my roots also.
Yes. Yeah.
Because like you, I choose a not so great family.
I mean, sometimes I think we have to go through this in order to become therapists who can hold space for the woundedness of the people that we meet. I
Oh
think,
yes,
you know,
definitely. I say thanks to my mom and dad for being shitty parents.
yeah, yeah,
And they know that, but I came to really appreciate I'm here because of my childhood, which wasn't nice at all. But I choose to not be a victim of my childhood.
yeah.
And now I can help the world.
Mm.
So I couldn't do it without my parents.
Yeah, yeah. No, that I'm definitely in the process of something like that. I'm definitely.
Yes, and it was a process.
It is a
It
process.
is, it is a pro, it was a process, still a process.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm seeing in my clients that I wouldn't be able to get what they were saying if it wasn't for my own pain. So that's a big help
Yes,
to get into that appreciation of your past.
yes.
Okay, so yeah, just did you want to share about your voice channeling? Um, it the singing.
Yes, so I write about it in the book. I don't do it on Zoom because Zoom doesn't really record that. What happened to me, wow, 21 years ago, I was a young mother, first child born. I remember he was 6 months old. I was alone. He was crying and crying, and I was like, I did everything. I changed his diaper, his clothes, and he kept on crying. And then what happened is I had this memory of a past life with him, and a singing came, and I start singing to him something very Indian. I don't even remember what it is, but he relaxed
Mhm.
after, I don't know, 2 hours of crying, and he relaxed, I relaxed, he went to sleep. And since then, for I think 2 years, it was like, this is the rhythm that really calmed him down. And then what happened? So I was in my beginning of my therapeutic journey. I found myself with clients, they are on my table bed. I'm putting my hands around them and I want to sing. But I was raised and a person not on tune. So I didn't want to harm my clients. So I really struggled with singing during sessions. Um, and I worked on that. And today I might do singing during session. And what happened to me in Karmic Constellation is I found out when the field is stuck, specifically when I work with soul fragment. So many times with soul fragment, this field is really stuck. Like there is a mistrust between the fragment and the soul, because it might happen like 10,000 years ago and the soul as if abandoned him and he got frozen in time. So why should he come back? It's a little bit like a child-mother relationship, like you left me in the mall 10 years ago. Why should I trust you? And then all the sentences we have in constellation healing sentences, which are part of acknowledge what it is, they are not working. So again, I was frustrated, like, how can I help the field move? I start singing, like the channel singing that I do, and then the field moved. So I understood that there are times and places in our life or in our past that the pain is so big, the only way to do a movement within us is by music. I'll say that. The way I work with music is a channeled music, singing, and it really change every time. Like one session, it can be very nice and pleasant, and in the other, it can be very strong and maybe even unpleasant, but it shifts the field.
Mm. Yeah, well, I think we can relate to that from our own experience, right? Put on your headphones and turn up the music, and things are gonna shift. So yeah, it's interesting how you can use
Yeah.
it therapeutically like that, and also how you channeled it, how it came to you, and yeah. So that it sounds like there's many creative tools within that frame of karmic constellations.
Yes, and I just ended the training last week, and what I told them, take these tools, bring your own tools, and make it yours. Like I really believe that it's one tool that you can bring to any method you are working. So I do also a psychotherapy, and I bring it to the psychotherapy if the client is ready and if it comes from the client. So you can put it in all kinds of tools that you already work in, and you can bring your tools into it and start doing it your own. I think one of the things that I strongly believe is about taking other tools and making them your own. You actually saw it in my chart. So I'm working through my chart, great.
Yeah.
And but I also teach that. I also really encourage others to do that. This is how we evolve, not by sticking to others' methods, but taking them and bringing them to our own spirit and forming them to what really works with us.
Yes, yes, I really condone that. Yes, that is exactly my point around all of these traditions and the many voices that I interview is like take what you feel for, because otherwise we're just repeating and we're leaving ourselves possibly easier. It's more easy to leave yourself if you're just repeating you think it has to be this way. And it's difficult in the beginning when you learn something new, of course, and you have to stick to it, and then the time comes and you can shift it up.
Yeah, and it's practicing and training. So like I did family constellation for lots of years before I started Karmic Constellation. And even then I had I asked my clients, do you want a session of that or that? Like I didn't even combine. And today I might start with family and end in Karmic, or start with Karmic and end with family. So like I also evolve with the method and working with all of my tools together.
Okay. Yael, thank you so much for introducing us to this, presenting here what it is you do and the messages in your book. I just want to ask in the end if you feel like saying something from your heart. Is there anything you feel like, if you want to sum something up, or what's really important to get when you're listening to your message?
No, I think one of the things we talked about and it is very important is the past is building us.
Yeah.
But we need to decide that this is how we are looking at the past, and we need to make the past our stepping stones. It's a choice. If I'm talking about soul essence, it's a choice looking at the past and making it a stepping stone. So if there is a message in our session I would love people to take is that.
I will take it, and immediately my mind just relates it to Saturn in Aries. It's around your birthday, actually. It's around there, I think 25th of May or something. Saturn is gonna go into Aries, and that, I feel that's very related to what you were just saying, like make the past your own, use it as a building block for your new chapter there in Aries. So yeah, and I feel it's very spot on with my own process. It really is. It really is. There's so many things that's been revealed to me in these last couple of weeks, of things where I still have to look inward and say like, oh, okay, I am really in a victim mode here. I'm in resentment. And why is that? And then I can see, okay, doesn't have to do with the job, right? The emotion comes out. It has to do with the past. But what's new, and that's not new for me, I know that. But what's new is saying, oh, wait a minute, I don't have to stay there.
Yes.
I can turn it into something else. It was actually what happened formed me to what I can do today, my abilities today. I
Yes.
think that's really Saturn in Aries. It's a part of it anyway. So yeah. Thank you, Yael. That was a long song from me here, but I resonate.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And be well. And I'll link to your book and your website so people can find more of you.
Yeah, I'd love that. Thank you.